Hi, I'm George Coyle, the founder of Triangulated Research, and this is Secular Investment Trends, a weekly series where I look at secular investment trends as told and defined by executives in corporate called transcripts. If you'd like a more in-depth look at this research, including identifying beneficiary stocks, I welcome you to sign up for my related research. You can find the link below. So today or this week, we're going to talk about the silver tsunami, which is the giant wave of baby boomers who are entering their 80s. And I really picked up this trend because companies are talking about it more and more. So I just saw it pop up in executive commentary. But when I saw it, I decided to go out to Google Trends and do searches for some related keywords and was pretty surprised, or maybe not surprised, to find that a lot of these keywords are getting the most interest in terms of trends on Google in the past 20 or so years. So the first one is Medicare, the second one is home care, and the third one is dementia. And if you go out and you look at these keywords on Google Trends, you find that they're really spiking and starting to peak, which I guess makes a lot of sense because in theory, we're going to need a lot more of those three things, or have a lot more of those things as the baby boomers enter their 80s and beyond. So there's a couple different things that this trend impacts. Actually, there's a lot. It's more than usual, but there's sort of four main categories that have resulted from my reading of transcripts, and I'll talk a little bit about each one and give a quote from one of the companies in each of these verticals, we'll call it. So the first is medical. Obviously, healthcare and medicine are going to be impacted by more people over 80. And iRhythm Technologies, ticker IRTC, said the following: "The silver tsunami, if you've heard that term before, it is upon us. We're seeing more and more individuals aging into Medicare, an increasing risk of cardiac arrhythmias warranting monitoring. So a lot of tailwinds in the market. We believe we're well positioned." So that's one company, but a lot of companies that basically offer various healthcare or medical technology devices that help people as they get older are saying that they're going to start to see more demand. After medical, we have financial products. And a lot of companies in the wealth space are saying there's a secular trend there, and there's just a bigger need for people to have help with managing their wealth. But one company in particular, Athene Holding, ticker is ATH, said the following: "We continue to believe that our model, which is comprised of spread-based savings products with relatively long durations, is a major differentiator of our business. Most important, our products are and will continue to be in high demand given the silver tsunami of people preparing for or managing retirement." So that's another comment that you see a lot. Athene is a big provider of annuities, and you're seeing a lot of people saying annuities are popular because they have fixed returns and typically capital protection or preservation. Beyond that, one of the more interesting things that's probably not as predictable, I guess you could say, or you might not have guessed it, relates to small businesses. And this quote comes from Kingsway Financial Services, ticker KFS, and they say that "We are in the middle of what we call the silver tsunami of retiring business owners. Over the next 2 decades, record numbers of baby boomer entrepreneurs will be looking to exit their business. Nearly $4.8 trillion of wealth is expected to change hands as these owners retire. The largest intergenerational wealth transfer in U.S. history. Over 2 million small businesses are projected to transition leadership in the next 10 years. And this is really the key point here. This wave of retirements is going to create a huge supply of businesses for sale. However, many of these companies are below the radar of traditional buyers. In other words, demand is limited while supply is surging, which creates very favorable dynamics for buyers." So I thought that was really interesting and unique because they're basically telling us that the baby boomers are going to want to sell their businesses, and maybe they have kids that don't want the businesses, or they don't have kids. But if you're of the mind of buying small businesses, it sounds like there's going to be a supply-demand imbalance that favors the buyers. Anyway, the final category that gets mentioned definitely the most by far is senior living. And Ventas, ticker VTR, had the following to say about senior living as it relates to baby boomers. "The over 80 population is expected to surge into the coming decade and grow 28% in the next 5 years. Yet senior housing supply is at record lows in both inventory growth and number of new construction starts, with just over 1,200 units started in the third quarter. So what Ventus is saying there is pretty much echoed by a lot of the other guys in the space. There isn't enough supply of housing for seniors at a time when there's a lot of seniors that are going to need housing. So positive supply-demand imbalance for those companies. In terms of performance, one thing I like to do is try to look at how are the stocks performing in line with the fundamental trends. And so what I did is I created an equal weighted basket of 4 retirement-focused REITs that I found from my research. And I used Portfolio Visualizer and basically found that since the beginning of 2024, that equal weighted 4-stock portfolio has returned 43% versus the S&P being up 21% over the same time period. And the portfolio's Sharpe ratio was 1.75 versus 1.47 per over the same time period. So anyway, what that really shows is that these stocks are starting to take off, and they're doing it as the boomers are starting to retire. Anyway, that's it for this week. Again, as I said earlier, if you're interested in more in-depth research, please check out the link below and sign up for my weekly report. And I'll see you next week.